You're watching another edition of Money in Main Street. We're up to our CEO Sitdown segment now, and today we're joined by author of The Everyday Entrepreneur and CEO of Advantage Payroll, Rob Basso. Thanks for being with us, Rob.
Thank you.
So today we're talking about a critical component to success, and that's leadership. I mean, it's a broad area, but it is so important for success, clearly. And how would you define its importance? And let's talk about skill sets that you think are the most, that really will lead to the success people are looking for.
Well, one of the things that I think that a lot of leaders forget about is that you really just need to treat everybody fairly, but not necessarily equally. Everybody's personality is different. Everybody is wired a different way. And I know from my own personal experience, dealing with different types of employees that have different wants and needs in their life was a big part of when I was growing my business, understanding that you can't lead everybody the same exact way. Some people need to be pulled along in a different fashion.
Okay.
And too many leaders are single-minded and don't realize they have to play to the masses that work with them.
So you don't believe in a formula for
Not for
the
me,
best
I don't.
type of leadership, and you're adapting to people. And you had a web show where you actually were mentoring or giving advice, so to speak, to new business leaders. And you have an example of someone that was stumbling in this area?
Sure. We had a show where it was by a company called Ultimate Class Limousine, and he was struggling because he was busy working in his business, not concentrating on growing his business. And I know you've heard this 100 times, but is the biggest pitfall of running a co-organization and being a successful leader is doing too much of the minutia and not planning your business and not getting others to do the work while you're looking at the vision of the organization. So we worked very hard with this person to get out of the day-to-day to make his business more successful. And he's celebrating his 29th year in business and had one of his best years on record last year.
Oh, very nice. So people, unfortunately, get into that problem of seeing themselves as managers and operators and not leaders. But don't you think that also has something to do with trusting your team?
Yeah, a lot of it is about trusting your team, and it comes to hiring the right people that complement your organization to get the best out of them.
Okay.
The simple fact of the matter is being a good manager doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good leader. Good leaders are decisive. Good leaders can communicate incredibly well with what they want done in their organization, not only to the people that work with them, but to the general public and their clients.
So communicating effectively is obviously very important to success as a leader, and stating your vision and mission. So how would you help people out there with getting that message across? I mean, you still have to make the tough decisions, but communication is key.
It is. I've decided, in my own world, in my organization, I was a history education major. I wasn't necessarily slotted to be a business professional, and my life turned out in a completely different fashion. And I learned the communication skills that were necessary from all the training of being an educator. And what I found is if you take a soft approach, but a firm hand in the way that you communicate. And when you speak, if people really believe in you, that's really what matters. I mean, look at politics the way it stands today. The simple fact of the matter is they say things that are literally outrageous, but they believe it. And if you believe what you're saying, you can have people follow you to the ends of the earth. And I've got really incredible staff of employees that believe in my capabilities, and that's what's made us successful. And it's no different in any other organization.
Well, do you think that there's a fear of allowing too much input will put out a message that you're weak as a leader, and we really shouldn't fall into that?
I don't see it that way. I'm very big on collaboration. At the end of the day, some of the big decisions do get made by me at my organization, but I empower my staff to come to me and give me all the information for me to make the best decision. And I allow them to make mistakes along the way. We have made plenty of mistakes that I saw coming, but allowed it to happen for the growth of that individual. And those people, some of my staff has been working with me for the entire 20 years I've had the business because I allow them to make those mistakes and grow.
All right, so let's talk about takeaways for our viewers. If you're talking to someone who's just stepped into a role as a leader, 3 main areas they need to keep in mind, keep top of mind.
Communicate is the most important thing. Be able to communicate with, I will call them your stakeholders, anybody that works in and around your organization. You have to be a great listener. You have to listen to what your clients are saying. You have to listen to what your staff is saying. And you have to be able to take risks. One thing that leaders do, they take risks. It's one thing to be able to manage a situation, but if you're not willing to take a risk in a certain situation to move your company forward, to make that big client happy, then you're not really a leader.
And one last point I wanted to ask you, FaceTime versus email and text. How critical is that?
I always think face-to-face is better, even in this technological age where most of our work at our organization is technology-based. Yeah. Most of the sales that we make are face-to-face with a prospect, sitting across the table with an HR manager or a CFO. I think that should never go away,
yes.
In my opinion. I'm not a big fan of email. The truth is, while I was sitting here between segments, I probably got 40 emails that I'm going to have to respond to.
Right.
It becomes a big sucking hole of your day where it generally doesn't get anything done.
You can't ignore it. It
Nope.
is a part of our world now, but FaceTime is also something to keep in mind. All right, Rob Basso, thanks so much for coming in, CEO of Advantage Payroll Services.